How to create a fully functional Candy Crush game using React and Vite. First, let's create a new project using Vite. Vite is a build tool that provides a fast development environment and optimizes your application for production. We'll be using the command npm create Vite latest Candy Crush template React. Then we'll use the command cd Candy Crush to change it into our project folder. Awesome, now that we are inside the Candy Crush directory, it's time to install our project dependencies. Our dependencies are being installed. Once this is complete, we'll be ready to start building our Candy Crush game. Let's create the files candy.jsx, candy.css, board.jsx, board.css, app.jsx, and app.css. Let's move on to implementing the code in the candy.jsx file. Import the useEffect and useRef hooks from React. Import the external CSS file candy.css to style the component. Create a functional component named Candy that takes 4 props: color is selected, is matched, and on click. Use the useRef hook to create a reference that will be attached to the DOM element. Use the useEffect hook to perform side effects. In this case, the effect will run only once when the component mounts. Inside the useEffect hook, check if element ref current is not null. If it exists, set the transform style property to ensure the element is positioned correctly. Return the JSX to render the component. Use a diff element with the ref attribute set to element ref to attach the reference to the DOM element. Set the class name dynamically based on the is selected and is matched props. If is selected is true and the selected class, if is matched is true and the matched class, set the style attribute dynamically, set the background color to the value of the color prop, set the transform property based on the is matched prop, attach the onClick event handler to the onClick prop. Export the Candy component as the default export so it can be imported and used in other parts of the application. Let's move on to implementing the styles in the candy.css file. Set the width and height to 60 min. Add margins to space out the candies. Apply a border radius for rounded corners. Set the cursor to a pointer to indicate interactivity. Add a transition effect for all properties to smoothly animate changes. Set a transparent border to allow for border color changes on selection. Use box sizing border box to include padding and border in the element's total width and height. Define the candy hover class to style the candy elements when hovered over. Apply a transform to scale the element up. Define the candy selected class to style the candy elements when they are selected. Change the border color to black. Apply a transform to scale the element up. Update the candy class to include specific transitions for transform and opacity properties, ensuring smooth animations for these changes. Create a keyframes rule named pop to animate the candy elements when they are matched. Define the candy matched class to apply the pop animation to matched candy elements. Set the animation to pop with the duration, easing and forwards to retain the final state. Create another keyframes rule named drop to animate new candy elements dropping into place. Define the candy new class to apply the drop animation to new candy elements. Define the game over overlay class to style the overlay that appears when the game is over. Position the overlay fixed to cover the entire viewport. Set a semi-transparent black background. Use flexbox to center the content both horizontally and vertically. Define the game over model class to style the model that appears within the game over overlay. Set a white background and padding for spacing. Apply rounded corners with border radius. Center the text within the model. Create a keyframes rule named scaling to animate the game over model. Let's move on to implementing the code in the board.jsx file. Import the candy component from the same directory and the external CSS file board.css for styling the board. Create a functional component named board that takes 4 props: board, selected candy, matched positions, and the on candy click. Define a function calculate size to determine the size of the board based on the screen width. Get the screen width using video inner width. Return small if the screen width is less than 480 pixels. Return medium if the screen width is less than 768 pixels. Return larger for wide screens. Return the JSX to render the board. Use a div element with the class board to contain the entire body. Map through the board array to create rows of candies. Each row is represented by a div element with the class row. For each row, map through the color array to create individual candy components. Use the candy component and pass the following props. Set the call index to uniquely identify each candy in the row. Set to the result of the calculate size function. Set to true if the current candy is the selected candy. Then set to true if the current candy is part of the matched positions. Set to a function that calls on candy click with the current row and column indices. Export the board component as the default export so it can be imported and used in other parts of the application. Let's move on to implementing the styles in the board.css file. Define the board class to style the container that holds the entire board. Set the background color to white. Add padding to create space inside the board container. Apply a board radius. Add a box shadow to create a subtle elevation effect. Set a maximum width. Enable horizontal scrolling. Define the row class to style each row within the board. Let's move on to implementing the code in the app.jsx file. Import the necessary hooks from React, the border component, and the external CSS file app.css for styling the application. Define constants for the board dimensions and an array of candy colors. Define the createBoard function to generate a random board of candies. Initialize an empty array board. Loop through the rows and columns to create a 2D array. For each cell, randomly select a color from the colors array and push it into the row. Push each row into the board array. Return the generated board. Define the findMatches function to identify matches of 3 or more candies. Initialize a set to store unique matches. Loop through the board to check for horizontal matches of 3 consecutive candies of the same color. Loop through the board to check for vertical matches. Convert the set to an array of coordinate pairs and returned. Define the remove matches function to remove matched candies from the board. Create a deep copy of the board. Loop through the matches and set the corresponding cells to null. Return the modified board. Define the drop candies function to drop candies down and fill empty spaces. Create a new board filled with null. Loop through the columns and drop candies down, filling empty spaces with new random candies. Return the new board and the score increment. Create a function component named app that manages the game state and logic. Use the useState hook to manage the board state, score, selected candy, game over state, and manage their positions. Define the handle candy click function to handle candy selection and swapping. If no candy is selected, set the selected candy. If a candy is already selected, check if the new selection is adjacent. Swap the candies and check for matches. If matches are found, update the board, otherwise revert the swap. Use the useEffect hook to handle matches and the game over logic. Define the isValidMove function to check if any valid moves exist on the board. Define the handle matches function to find matches, remove them, drop candies, and update the score. Set a timeout to call handle matches every 100 milliseconds. Clear the timeout when the component unmounts or the board changes. Return the JSX to render the application. Use a div element with the class app to contain the entire application. Display the game title and score. Render the board component passing the board state, selected candy, matched positions, and click handler as props. Conditionally render the game over overlay and model if the game is over, displaying the final score and a play again button to restart the game. Let's move on to implementing the styles in the app.css file. Define the app class to style the main container of the application. Center the child elements horizontally. Ensure the container takes up at least the full viewport height. Set a light gray background color. Add padding. Use box sizing body box to include padding in the element's total width and height. Define the score class to style the score display. Set the font size. Add vertical margins. Set the text color to a dark gray. Center the text horizontally. Define the game over overlay class to style the overlay that appears when the game is over. Position the overlay fixed to cover the entire viewport. Set a semi-transparent black background. Use flexbox to center the content both horizontally and vertically. Define the game over model class to style the model that appears with the game over overlay. Set a white background. Add padding. Apply rounded corners with border radius. Center the text horizontally. Set a maximum width. Use the media query to apply styles for screens with a maximum width. Reduce the padding of the app container. Decrease the font size of the score class. Adjust the vertical margins of the score class. Use another media query to apply styles for screens with a maximum width. Further decrease the font size of the score class. Reduce the padding of the game over model class. Set the width of the game over model class. Now let's solve the problems. Now we can start our development server to see our app in action. We'll use the command npm run dev to launch the Vite development server. Want to get the source code of the game with sound effects support? Link in the description. As a result, we created a fully functional Candy Crush game using React and Vite.